I recently did a deep dive that went viral about how GM sold America. After going through hundreds of documents, Part 1 showed how GM gave its latest tech to the Chinese. Part 2 showed how they plan to make most of their cars and EVs in China and export them to America. And Part 3 showed how GM is the world champion in sucking taxpayer money. To this day, they get hundreds of millions of dollars subsidies per year, yet transfer the work to China. If you haven't watched the videos, there's a link in the card above. In this video, I will explore a question viewers asked. Where were the unions? I mean, the story of GM moving production of both ICE cars and EVs to China should be very disturbing for American auto workers. So why didn't the UAW intervene? A huge thank you to my amazing patrons. I'm doing this by myself, and I truly appreciate your support. Click the link in the corner to support the channel and to get my patron-only newsletter where I analyze events and trends to see where disruptions could take our investments and lives. You can also support the channel through a one-time donation. There's a link in the video description. The story of GM moving production of both ICE cars and EVs to China should be very disturbing for American auto workers. GM started importing Chinese cars into America, selling them as regular GMs. They became the largest importer of Chinese cars into America, and when President Trump imposed tariffs on Chinese cars, GM lobbied against them. And most of all, GM throttled development of gas cars and of EVs in America, shifting most resources to developing them in China. So why didn't the UAW intervene? The UAW publicly opposed the move, but besides paying lip service, it seems like they didn't really try to stop GM from importing the Envision and the Cadillac Hybrid, which would have served as a beachhead for a full-blown Chinese invasion by SAIC GM. If we asked the UAW about this, I'm sure they would have some great answers. They would say that Buick Envision sales in America are relatively small, that GM makes many vehicles in America, that it shouldn't really matter whether GM makes its imported cars in China or in Mexico, and finally, that they did protest. The UAW did warn against the Envision, and had things gone further, they would have escalated their protests as well. All this is true, but judging by UAW's actions, I suspect there's more to that. First, let's check how the UAW reacted to the Envision. When rumors just surfaced that GM was about to start importing the Envision, the UAW protested. In this article from 2015, the UAW called the expected move alarming. Cindy Estrada, vice president of the UAW's GM department, remember this name, said that the union will discuss this with GM during the upcoming contract talks. The Envision should be made in the U.S. by the workforce that saved GM in its darkest time, Estrada said. GM should stand by its declaration that it will be built where it sells. Similarly, UAW VP and head of their GM department, Terry Dittes, said, "It will continue to be the position of the UAW that products sold in the USA be made in the USA. They can simply build these 41,000 Buicks right here in the USA and create American jobs." Oh, really? Google search for UAW Buick Envision, and what you will find is that when rumors just arrived in 2015, the UAW said what we heard a moment ago. Then, when in 2016 the Envision started selling, the UAW said that they oppose importing it from China. Finally, when in 2018 tariffs were declared, the UAW said that they oppose lifting them. Said, and said. Nothing more. While all this sounds great, all they did was talk, giving the right answers whenever asked. But why would the UAW do this? Why would they only pay lip service to American workers without actually trying to stop Chinese imports? In the quote above, Cindy Estrada protested GM's intention to import the Buick. With that in mind, consider the following nugget from an article sent to me by one of my patrons. Thanks, Luca. Estrada is particularly despised among auto workers for her role in negotiating secret agreements with GM to outsource jobs at its Lake Orion and Lordstown assembly plants, which in the latter case was the prelude to the shutdown of the plant.
Executive board, but most importantly the membership, that we're behind every worker in the city of Detroit, no matter where we live in the state of Michigan, no matter where we live in this country. We're behind our workers, who are city of Detroit workers.
All right.
In the city of Detroit, because this corruption has to end.
Yes.
We sit across from corporations trying to tell us how they need to stay competitive while screwing workers. And that day is done.
Yes.
So we just want to say in the UAW and every worker, we're behind all of you, and we need to be behind all each other. And remember, whose town?
Our town.
Whose town?
Our town.
Whose town?
Following the federal investigation, the UAW voted to change the way leadership is elected, and in March 2022, 1 month after the change was approved, both Cindy Estrada and Terry Dittes announced their intention to retire without running for an additional term. However, since neither was indicted, let us assume that no wrongdoings were involved in the dealings with GM, and check for a legally valid explanation for UAW's behavior. The article says that Estrada agreed with GM management to outsource jobs instead of giving them to UAW members. This is similar to what I suggested, that the UAW de facto agreed with GM to import Envisions instead of making them in the USA. It's clear why GM management and shareholders could profit from these moves, but why would a labor union agree to them? The answer is right in front of us, because it is exactly that shareholders could profit from these moves. As part of General Motors' bailout, the UAW's Retiree Medical Benefits Trust, also known as the VEBA Fund, was given 17.5% of GM's shares, which made it GM's largest shareholder. This created a conflict of interest, where the UAW benefited more from increased company profits and share price than from hiring additional workers. Of course, when asked, the UAW would pay lip service and say they're against any such plans. But if outsourcing the work in Lordstown or shifting production to China would boost profits and pump the share price, the more the merrier. And what are you waiting for? I want to end with something a bit different. When researching YouTube for footage on the UAW's response to the Envision being imported, I found this video from 2016, introducing the upcoming import to U.S. shores. The video had several comments, like this one by Eddie Last, saying the Envision won't sell in the U.S. if it's made in China. Apparently GM knew that, and that's why they hid it, so that almost nobody knows the Envision is imported. But what caught my eye, heartbreaking really, was this comment by MotoHead342. I would like to buy one, but the company that I worked for went out of business. We made parts for GM in Michigan. GM received a $53 billion bailout. Back then, and to this date, it received billions upon billions of dollars in subsidies. Yet, they did their best to import cars from China. They wanted to make all their EVs there, and they openly opposed the tariffs. This comment by MotoHead342 shows what it really means. I was once a GM fan, defending them in car forums through thick and thin. But after doing this deep dive, all I can think is, what a horrid, morally corrupt company. But maybe I'm too harsh. What do you think? If you liked this series, please like and subscribe, and to support the channel, please visit my Patreon, where you will also get my patron-only newsletter. You can also support the channel through a one-time donation. There's a link in the video description. A huge shout-out to my latest patrons, Joel Allen, Christopher Lopez, D. Duffy, Claudia Mole, Ocular 3XT1000, Boo Jin, Simon, and Bradford Ferguson. And to all my patrons, you guys rock. Feel free to contact me and follow me on Twitter, where I am Connecting No Dots. I really appreciate your being here. It means a lot. Till next time, I am Connecting the Dots, and you are amazing.